but truth. Bring it on.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Do you want the whole truth? I don't think you're ready.
Governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people.
It's Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth.
Well, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. We're glad you're here, right here on the AFR Talk Network. I'm Crane Durham. This is Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Welcome back. Hope you all had a joyous Thanksgiving holiday, and you had to deal with Obamacare website. I love Dan Celia's website advice. Did you like that? That was great. Why would you ever do? I mean, the fact of going to a website where your information can't be secure, or you have serious doubts on the people handling that information, or that it won't crash. When Reuters runs a headline like this, retooled Obamacare website traffic surges, but problems remain. Yes. Incidentally, it's not about the website, it's about the structure. It's about the structure. And it's about the promise versus the result. What do you mean by that? Well, I'll get to that. I just want to tell you what's on the show first. Bottom of the hour, minimum wage, protests, McDonald's. We're going to get your fast food experiences and a $15 minimum wage. We'll take your calls at the bottom of the hour. They are gearing up for another round of protests across the country. And we will be addressing some of the media malpractice. Don't you do that on Beat the Press with Chris Woodward? I do. That's on Friday. We're going to do it a little later on in the hour because Bob Franken, formerly of CNN, talked about the treatment of the press by the administration. We'll be talking about that, as well as the treatment of critics and how there's a curious correlation between criticizing the administration and its policies and being audited. But first, you're not going to talk about Israel? Oh, yes, we are. We're going to talk about Israel, Iran, and the truth sold out. And we knew that going in when in 2009 we saw the treatment of Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, and how he was welcomed in the front door and let out the back door. And that now infamous press conference where Netanyahu lectured Obama on the realities of dealing with evil, people that don't share your values. Obama just gave him a cold stare. That cold stare was mentioned in the book, The Amateur, in fact. Interesting. Because I've only read a little piece of that. And wow, even if you haven't read it yet, and it's a bit dated, it's still dated in the sense of not a new release, but certainly relevant to today, it seems. Today, Cyber Monday. And we have a very special request so that you can make somebody's Christmas all the better. That's right. Cyber Monday, largest online shopping day of the year. Take a moment to share Christ's love with children around the world through Operation Christmas Child. How? Well, AFR invites you to help build us 500 shoebox gifts in one day. Actually, we're going for a new record on that. So I think we've reached that goal. Matter of fact, I know we have, at least according to the emails going back and forth between the team. But I say we build on that right now. And there are two ways you can join us. You can call with a gift of $30 and we'll pack a box for you. These boxes go to the neediest children around the world. And it's a ministry project of Samaritan's Purse. They are filled with school supplies, toys, hygiene items to let hurting children in more than 130 countries around the world know that God loves them Samaritan's Purse works with local churches and ministry partners to deliver, thank you, still under construction, Crane, the gifts and share the life-changing news, the good news of Jesus Christ. So you can pack your own, or you can call with a gift of $30 and we will pack a box for you. You can pack online at afr.net. 100% of your gift goes toward packing a shoebox for a needy child around the world. Wow. Call 877-616-2396. That's 877-616-2396. Imagine the opportunity you have right now to impact the world, transform the world, transform the culture of the world. Yeah, through Christ. 877-616-2396. Great way to let children around the world who are in need, let them know that God knows them. He created them. He loves them. And they are worth it. And by the way, that's the same to you. God knows you. He created you. He loves you. And you're worth it. I don't know if people understand that. Crane, this is the first time listening to the show. Christian radio, I didn't know much about it. Well, welcome to the AFR Talk Signal. Lock it in. Great team that we have. Yeah, God knows you because He created you. He loves you, and you are worth it. He has blessed you with extraordinary gifts. You are an original. Don't die a copy. I love that. Pastor David Crank says that. It was a great line. Anyway, let's hit some of the news that we're going to hit today, and that is about the website, what has happened, but really not about the website in particular, because it's much greater than that. Are you going to tell us about your Thanksgiving? I'll get to that. I will absolutely. It was. I was going to use the term awesome, but it was awesome. Got to see my niece. My new niece. New niece. Say that 5 times. I'll tell you all about that, but I want to jump in right now. I'll leave that topic and return to it later, but I have to say I have the greatest in-laws in the world. Susan and FG, my in-laws, mother and father-in-law respectively, as well as great brothers-in-law, 2 nieces, actually 3, but 2 that I saw, and 1 nephew, and actually 4, but 1 that I saw. It was just great. And Mobile, Alabama, I love you. And I love you, Fairhope, Alabama. You got a great place. I got to see Pastor Free. That's enough, man. You've got to get to the show. You're off schedule. People want to hear what's going on. What is the big story of the weekend? You watch the Sunday shows? Not really. Just gathered some clips, read some transcripts, because I just can't take it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Just gets me down. Because I get things are said. And they're not only said, well, they're said, yes, and they're on record, and they're not true. Oh, Crane, welcome to... Wake up, Dorothy. Of course they're not true. Spin. Yeah, but when they involve bending the law, when the president oversteps his Article 2 rights and the rights that he has as a president in the sense of what he's allowed to do and what he is supposed to do, and he starts going to the Article 1 function of Congress and legislating, we end up with a banana republic. Charles Krauthammer talked about this in general most recently. The good doctor was speaking to the issue of the rule of law. Now, I took a little piece of this clip out to make it time sensitive, where you are not listening to the entire 4-minute spiel. Nonetheless, it was pretty good because he's highlighting what we've talked about for some time and that we will talk about tomorrow night in the second segment with our good friend Hans von Spakovsky, senior legal analyst at the Heritage Foundation. And we're talking about it because we keep returning to this because it's an extraordinary abuse of power. And if one is comfortable with it because it benefits them or the policies they agree with not recognizing the destruction it does to the republic in the future, well, they're not a believer in freedom. They really are about mob rule. And they don't believe in the system. They don't believe in what our founders outlined. Nonetheless, here is the good doctor speaking to the corruption and the cavalier attitude toward the rule of law. Dr. Charles Krauthammer. Roll it.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about how the administration, particularly the president, seems to think that he has the right to change duly passed statutes on his own or to suspend whole parts of laws on his own. I mean, the Constitution is pretty clear. The president executes the law and the Congress passes the laws. So, for example, a few months ago, Obama decided that he wanted to postpone the employer mandate of his own law of Obamacare. You're not allowed to do that. You've got to change the law in Congress if you want to do it. And he did it, without hesitation. A year ago, he did some recess appointments you're allowed to do if the Senate isn't in session. The problem was the Senate was in session, and the courts have so ruled. This is a very cavalier attitude. But the worst part was what happened a couple of weeks ago when the president was really stung by the fact that there were all these cancellations of insurance policies. So Obama's own law is something that he ignores, and he encourages insurers and state insurance commissioners to allow to be violated. And the way he's been doing this, it's sort of the cavalier attitude I find absolutely astonishing.
I think we all do. It gives us pause. Now, there are the low information voters, and maybe some of you are listening right now, maybe watching online or through the AFR channel. And you say, don't call me low information. Well, it's not really an insult, as to say it is something to point out and recognize because it's impacting our country, and sooner or later, it's going to bite you. I was going to say, bite you in the bum. Bottom line. Not good. Bad. Now you say, Crane, you're about R's and D's. I'm not about R's or D's. I'm about accountability and policy. As James points out on the Facebook page, I love it. It's about the policy. Amen, brother Ben James. I'm just looking to rhyme. I'm not as good as Jackson on that. Talking Jesse. Go. Why'd you do Michael? Easy. Back to the point. Here's something that we've been talking about for some time. And its impact. It has a deleterious impact on our freedoms. This boils down to the fact that when a president does not respect the limits of his power, it is deeply troubling. And all presidents have and will challenge it. But we've seen arguably unprecedented, at least in the last 40 plus years, unless, of course, people are held to account for it and they exit, they resign. People can't overstep and get nailed for it. But when you start changing a policy or legislation, in essence, law, and not enforce, choose not to enforce large elements of it, you're not doing your job, and you are breaking the rule of law. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Welcome to the show. This matters. It matters because when people are not held to account, presidents are not held to account, this will continue. It will grow. And it will make the entire process, which has already been compromised in what the founders envisioned. Again, Captain Obvious. It leads to tyranny. You can't undermine the foundation without a consequence. And that's what we have today. And it's for all of us to understand that. Low information voter saying, it doesn't hit me. I've never been involved in politics. It's not about politics. It's about being an American. No hyphens. No hyphens. No. Being an American and what that means and what freedoms you enjoy. And you will only feel the sting when, quite frankly, it's too late. The die's been cast. You can't push back because it's been done. Now, this is the opportunity to push back, and that means get involved. Well, Crane, you say people are not telling the truth. Well, they're not telling the truth, and they're also talking about the truth as if to say, hey, President Obama, even though he lied to the American people, then came back and got held to account for lying, so he said he tried to change history through revisionist history of what he did say when he made the comment, you can keep your health care plan. If you like your plan, you can keep it, period. Remember that? He said it 90 plus times, but bottom line, he says this, not period, but he said that you can keep your plan. Then he tries to rewrite history, and now he's being lauded for lying. Well, Charles Krauthammer pointed out and said, hey, he's now telling people to break the law. When he had the opportunity to go through the right process, he didn't support it in Congress when they started to adapt to what he put out. So on the flip side of the break, I'm going to boil this down, bring it to you. Keith Ellison, Congressman Keith Ellison, on This Week with George Stephanopoulos yesterday. Extraordinary quote. So as we go to break, we will come back and we will play a clip for you. I want you to hear this because, quite frankly, if you were writing about corruption for a television series, a movie, book, whatever it may be, you would say this would be unbelievable because the people would not buy it. They'd be insulted by this rationalization, this justification. There is no way people would just let it go. Well, it seems that Keith Ellison has said something that people are letting go. We're not. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth proudly on. Say it with me now. AFR Talk. Go to the Facebook page. Chime in. AFR Talk.